Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. With every hour that passes now, the scale of the massacre in Egypt grows. The numbers are staggering. 638 people dead, close to 4,000 others injured. And as the death toll rises, the global criticism gets louder. U.S. President Barack Obama canceled joint military operations with Egypt today, saying he can't stand by as civilians are killed in the streets. We will hear from Egyptian Canadians worried about their families' safety in a moment, but we begin tonight on the ground in Egypt. Here's Sean Mallen.
Cairo smoldered and mourned. They started burying the dead. Here, a funeral for a protester. I swear by God that we had nothing in our hands but stones and twigs, not guns, she says. Cairo also saw services for some of the dozens of police officers killed in the violence. As the number of dead climbed precipitously, there were chaotic scenes in makeshift morgues. Distraught relatives searched for loved ones amid rows of corpses draped in white. The Muslim Brotherhood called for further protests. A government building in the Cairo suburb of Giza was set on fire. But generally, this was a day for cleanup and recrimination. City workers started sweeping out the remains of the Brotherhood encampments. Thank God the sit-in is over so people can go back to having a normal life, he says. Much of the rest of the world is disgusted by the bloodshed. The U.S. president canceled a planned joint military exercise.
The United States strongly condemns the steps that have been taken by Egypt's interim government and security forces. We deplore violence against civilians.
Supporters of the ousted President Mohamed Morsi found little comfort in Obama's words.
Well, I think whatever happens in Washington, it's really in the manner of being too little too late.
Seeing that international opinion was turning against them, the interim government pointed to video like this, which purports to show protesters firing at police. The ambassador to the UK called a news conference to argue that the security forces acted properly and in self-defense.
It will show you it's not that excessive, or it's not at all excessive. It's so human and it's so well organized.
Critics of the Brotherhood say they wanted martyrs and now pose a new threat.
The Muslim Brotherhood had a fatal blow, and now they are becoming desperate. And so this is the last stage. I think it will be suicidal. They may commit some terrorism.
The hours after Friday prayers may well be another dangerous time in Egypt. Sean Mallen, Global News, London.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Maged Musa has just arrived back to Montreal. He spends most of his time commuting between Canada and Egypt. He's a doctor and owns 2 hospitals there. These days, leaving his home country is especially difficult.
I'm all the day either on the phone or on Skype or on any program, just speaking with the people there, following what's happening.
Musa's parents and siblings live in Alexandria. He worries for their safety and has been trying to convince them to leave, but they won't.
It's not safe there anymore. It wasn't safe for a long time, and now it's terribly unsafe. Now it's incredibly unsafe.
So for now, he can only speak to them as often as he can. This morning, he reached them via Skype. Today, more bad news. His mother hasn't been able to go to work for 2 days. His parents only leave the house when it's absolutely necessary.
The situation now is very horrible. It's not safe at all. We cannot go to work.
Like Musa, Egyptians across Canada are watching in horror as the violence escalates in their country, like this Egyptian going to school in Edmonton.
It was very horrible. I didn't sleep last night because I'm just following the news minute by minute.
Here in Canada, Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird expressed deep concern over the violence and called on Egypt to implement changes to ease the tension. The Foreign Affairs Department issued a warning for Canadians against all non-essential travel to Egypt. As for Musa, he may be physically in Canada, but his heart is in Egypt as he spends his days worrying about his business, his family, and his country's future. Paola Samuel, Global News, Montreal.